Hi everybody, my name's Nate.
And my name's Alex.
Welcome to the Timney installation series. We're going to start showing you some videos on how to do the install on your trigger, adjust the trigger, and also some tech tips just in case you have some problems. Today we're going to start with the Remington 700. We're going to get you installed. I'm going to show you how to remove the bolt release for your clones, and I'm also going to show you how to adjust your triggers. So let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do, get your rifle in a vise. I mean, you can do this on your table as well. It's a lot easier to do it out of a vise. You're going to want to remove the stock. So you have a series of 3 screws on the bottom. Some are flatheads, some are Allens. It's all dependent on the rifle. We're going to remove those screws and we're going to pull the stock off. Once that stock comes off, you're going to be left with the magazine and the magazine follower. We're going to pull that off as well. And now we're going to start disassembling the trigger. Alright guys, for those of you with cloned actions, you're going to want to remove the bolt release on our trigger. Here are 3 different models. This is going to be our older style 510. This is going to be our 532. This is going to be our Elite Hunter. We do have other models, but these are our 3 styles of bolt release that we have on them. The old style is going to have a 5/64 screw holding that on. Once you pull that screw off, that bolt release drops off. You can put the screw back in, you can leave it out. That's totally up to you. The 2-stage here, it's going to be a little bit of a hybrid. 5/64 screw up here, a pin down here with an E-clip on the back side. You're going to want to remove that E-clip with a flathead, pop it off, remove the screw as well. That's going to remove the bolt release. When you put this pin back in, you are going to go through a sear. So make sure everything lines up and you can get it in there. Sometimes you got to wiggle the trigger a little bit to get that pin through. This is going to be the Elite Hunter. This is going to have 2 pins here. They are numbered. So you want to keep them in the same order that they're coming off. Also with an E-clip. When you pull this E-clip off here, this safety plate is going to free up. So you want to pinch it, hold it, pop that E-clip off. Pull your pin out, pull the bolt release. As you're holding this in place, put the pin back in with the E-clip. That'll keep the safety detent and the safety detent spring underneath of this plate. That's going to be how you remove your bolt release.
So we have the 2 mounting pins that hold the trigger assembly on the Remington action. Go ahead first by removing the bolt, pushing your bolt release, set that to the side, and now to access this rear pin, it is easiest in a safe position, so that way you can push this pin out from the right side to the left on a right-handed model to keep that bolt stop release from coming all the way out. All right, once you get the pins out enough so that way just holding onto the action, but your trigger assembly is free, your factory sear will come out along with the sear spring. Those are parts not needed with the new trigger assembly, and the trigger housing can be removed. This rear pin, it's important to keep that in place as you have your bolt stop and your bolt stop spring held by that pin. If it's removed all the way, it's not the end of the world. You can reinstall it, it's just a little tricky. If you happen to remove your bolt stop completely by punching this rear pin all the way through, we can easily reassemble it. Your bolt stop will have a small hook that is going to go to the back side of the action, and then this stop is going to be the actual stop that your bolt hits when it's installed. It can be placed inside the action. The spring will have the longer leg toward the front, and this back portion hooks around the action. Now that the pin is cleared of the action and your bolt stop is reinstalled with the spring, you can line up the trigger housing so that the bolt stop release tab lines up with this back portion of the bolt stop. Once it is in place, you can insert this pin. Some are looser than others. You can lightly tap it. Just note, you want to make sure the housing is aligned, otherwise you can damage the housing. Once that one is aligned, you can go ahead and reinsert the front one, doing the same thing.
Once you get your pins installed in this trigger, you're going to want to function test it for safety and for function. Put your bolt back into the action. And we're going to dry fire it a couple times. Safety works. Fires. At this point, you can either put your stock back on, or we can adjust the trigger to a lower pull weight or a higher pull weight. This trigger is fully adjustable once you have it. The top screw is going to be your over travel screw. You're not going to want to mess with that one, the one closest to the action. The bottom screw, it's labeled pull, so that's going to be your pull weight. Counterclockwise is going to lower your pull weight. Clockwise is going to increase your pull weight. You can go too light on this pull. So one thing you want to check for is to always remain spring tension. So you're going to want to pop your bolt up. Make sure that trigger, when you're touching that trigger with the bolt up, that it returns home. If it's kind of floppy and loose, you're going to want to increase your spring tension, or you're going to result in a slam fire. After you make your adjustments, be sure that you function test it. Make sure everything works right, it's holding, and there's no slam fire. So when you put that bolt down, it's not going to fire. Very important. Once your trigger's adjusted, everything's functioning outside of the stock, it's time to put it back together again. Much like Humpty Dumpty. We're going to put our magazine in, and now we're going to add our magazine follower. That's going to rest on there while that stock comes down on top of it. Put your bottom metal back on and your screws. Get everything cinched up. Once we get this rifle back together, you're going to want to function test it before you go out into the field with it. You're going to want to rack it a few times, dry fire it, make sure it works, pull your safety on, pull the trigger, flip the safety forward, pull the trigger. If that safety fires going forward, we have a problem. Give us a call, we'll get you fixed up. Thank you guys for joining us today. If you have any questions, you can give us a call at 623-223-1111.
Or you can send an email to our tech department at technicalsupport@timneeusa.com.